Erin is interesting in this room. Do we have any other medical directors in the room? I don't think so. Where Erin is so fascinating is she plays so much in education. So much of her career has been focused on education. And we're all here to figure out how we can educate people to be able to talk about products and brands so that they will sell more products and so that consumers will know about those brands. And I love the perspective that Erin has. And I'm super excited about this. And again, be paying attention and have questions ready for her. So just a quick bio on Erin. This is Erin Stokes. She's a medical director at Megafood and is a registered naturopathic doctor in the state of Colorado. She received her doctorate degree from Bastyr University in 2001, and shortly afterwards began pursuing this passion that she has for educating people. You teach Western pathology, psychology of healing at an acupuncture college.
I used to.
Oh, you used to? Okay.
Yes, that was after I graduated, so it's been a while now. I started teaching at an acupuncture college. I've always loved educating and ultimately knew that private practice wasn't where I was going to land in my career. But please.
No, and so now she's ended up as the medical director for Megafood and focuses on educating on health and wellness. She makes the rounds with webinars and podcasts. I mean, she is very well spoken on this topic in both how you educate for health and wellness, but also how you help educate the individuals who are speaking about these products in store. So we're really excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, part of the story that we're going to be talking about today is we were chatting with Pelican Products about how we're identifying an audience. Now, with Megafood, we're going to be talking a little bit more about how do you keep these people engaged. And I think that's something we're all really interested in. We want to be creating great content that they are then consuming and remembering. I think that's probably the key, is that they're remembering this content. And when considering a brand, and there are many brands who do this really well, but I love the Megafood content. I think there are so many different types of content within it. So we're going to be watching some videos. We're going to be running through some of the content. You're going to be walking away knowing a little bit more about Megafood and knowing a little bit more about how you can choose the right supplements nutritionally for you, because it'll be up on the screen. But let's get started first in talking about the natural space and how it has grown so rapidly. Why has it seen such a big boom in recent years?
I think that consumer habits are shifting. I mean, we all know that there's a major increase in organics, that people are wanting to know where their food comes from. If you look at data even on farmers markets, there's a meteoric rise of farmers markets around the country. And this space has grown because people are asking more questions. They want to know, where's my food coming from? Where are my supplements coming from? In our case, we use real food from real farms in our supplements, so it's a natural transition. But yes, this space is exploding. There's a Natural Products Expo West that some of you might know and be familiar with. I see some nodding heads. And just in the 7 years that I've been going as medical director with Megafood, the growth that I've seen at this show. And, and people always reminisce about, oh, it used to be this tiny little segment, but now it's really everywhere. But the fact that it's everywhere, consumers are having to differentiate more because there's so many choices. And so they're trying to figure out, what do I want that's best for myself and my family? And we all know that there's an information overload too. As you mentioned, Jen, I speak on radio and podcasts very often, and a lot of times it's live. So I hear directly from people calling in or asking questions, and consumers are really overwhelmed. And I don't think that that's just unique to our space, natural products, in our space, natural supplements. I think that's in general, because we have access to so much information at our fingertips. It becomes more imperative than ever to have great content that's relatable and accessible, because people are frankly overwhelmed. I mean, we talk all the time about, how do I choose a multivitamin? Do I even need a multivitamin?
Right. Well,
what do I do?
And I told this story on the podcast or on the webinar last year when I was expecting my first child. I was so overwhelmed by the amount of prenatal vitamins that are available. And you walk in the store and just the shelf, for every constant variable you could think of, there are all of these vitamins. And so how do you guys set yourself apart? How does Megafood set themselves apart in this gigantic space?
Well, we tried to tell our story and to have that story really resonate with people. And we feel like we have a great story because we build that connection. And that's something that came up in Steve's talk earlier today, is we connect people to the farms where we get the foods that are in the supplements. So if you were to go to our site, you would see video of Kauai Organic Farms where we get our United States grown turmeric. You would see beets being harvested from this gorgeous farm, Stallbush Island, that's sustainable in Oregon. And people get drawn in by seeing the level of transparency, which I know has become a buzzword. But we actually have a CEO that was talking about transparency 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We have video cameras in our facility at all times. We say, watch your supplements being made. So we try to really build that trust. And then we also bring in experts. So in the case of the prenatal Baby and Me Too, it's a whole collection of doctor-formulated multivitamins. So we bring in an integrative medical doctor that we work closely with, and we say, these vitamins were formulated by this person. So we have several layers where we differentiate, but first and foremost, I think it's our story.
So it seems like you're really trying to build trust, you're trying to build credibility, and how that all contributes to your story. So then this feels like a natural progression for us, but why ExpertVoice? Why use ExpertVoice to help build this further?
Well, I think it comes back to scalability. And as you grow, you realize, I mean, our supplements are in every Whole Foods in the country. We're in Sprouts, we're in natural grocers. I'm going to mention some regional places some of you may or may not know. We're in every Pharmaca. So we're very widely distributed. We're an independent, many members of INFRA, which is this whole organization of independent retailers, carry our supplements. So when we look at that, back to the question was.
No, it's overwhelming. So why ExpertVoice?
ExpertVoice was, so you're right. So I started 7 years ago. I was the director of education, moved into being medical director. And I thought, a lot of the education platforms that we're creating internally, we still do a lot of education internally. How are we going to scale this? If I have a rep in California that needs some kind of education platform for one account, and I have somebody else in New York and somebody else in Florida, we needed a clear platform that would work nationwide in all of our different distribution points, that was going to be engaging, and that also we could measure its impact. And that was really big for me. When Ben first started pitching, I think it was 3.5 back then, and then Experticity, the data piece, which I think has only become much more robust, was really important when he said, there's all these back-end analytics, and you can see how long people spend at the site and where they maybe stop engaging, where they do engage, where they don't. I thought, this is what we need, because we need a platform and we need it to work nationwide. It has to be scalable, and we want data to know how it's working.
So let's go ahead and dig into, and we'll show some of this data piece when it comes to how we are asking experts what they feel about the content. Mm-hmm. So we'll dig into that in a little bit. But let's go first into getting into some of the content. So this first video we're going to start with, just to tee this up, when you go through the learning module, there's this first video that is set up like a game show, which is really fun. It's super cheesy, like it's meant to be cheesy.
Right.
And something I feel like we need to point out is your audience is extremely smart. I mean, you can elaborate on that.
They really are. And I think they are very smart, because many people are in this natural retail world because they're passionate about it, because they believe in it, because maybe they've had a personal story that led them in there. So they generally are very well educated, and that's important. So certainly doing a game show format, one of the things I love is we never would have come up with that idea on our own. But when you all were talking, the team at ExpertVoice was talking about it, it's really important that content's very engaging and kind of fun, because think about their day. You need this to stick with them. And so, yeah. So
that's the key, is we're going to show you these different types of content, and maybe it can help give you some ideas as you're working with the project managers and with your account executives, and how to be creating content that not only will be compelling and interesting and informative, but also something that people remember. So hopefully this will give you some cool ideas. But let's first go into this first video where we initially had the game show format, but then they're looking for their Megafood mega match. They're looking for the right partners who they want to work with. And so they go through this whole series. I won't show you all the videos. They go through this whole series of different people who are clearly not the right match. And then they do find this farmer who is the right match. And so we'll go ahead and watch this one.
So Stacy, what does it mean for you to be working with a farmer like John?
Well, it means that we're able to uphold the MegaFood promise to deliver more than just vitamins and minerals alone, but we're able to deliver the wholesome benefits that farm fresh whole foods offer us.
John, Stacy, thank you for coming. And the millions watching at home, thanks for playing Is It a Megafood Mega Match?
It's kind of cheesy. It's got that little schmaltzy feel to it, but I think it's really memorable. So let's then look at the next video and then we'll chat about this. So this next video is where, so the first one we bring in the expert who's the farmer. The next one we bring in the expert who is someone who's actually selling these products, recommending these products to someone in store. So we'll go to that video next.
All right, Wendy, we have 3 gummies here. Can you guess which one is the Megafood gummy?
All right, this one looks a little sugary, sort of like a gumdrop. Kind of chewy. This one doesn't seem like a Megafood product to me.
You are correct. Abigail, can you tell us why?
Absolutely. You were spot on pointing out the sugar coating. That's one thing we were really careful to omit in our gummies because we know that gummies have sugar, but we want to limit it as much as we can. And also maybe some artificial coloring. So not things that really go with Megafood.
Right, right.
Great. So I have 2 questions I want to ask here. First,
Sure.
It has to be a little nerve-wracking, and you guys can raise your hands if you felt this too, that you have to turn your brand story over to a third party. Does that ever feel like a little anxiety-inducing? I see some nodding of heads. How did you react when you initially saw the content as it was coming through?
Well, I think it's true. We all look at our brand in our own unique way. And I think that something that every brand should have a watch out around is too much of an inside-out perspective. We know who we are, we're just gonna tell everybody who we are, and it's gonna all work out. Really, in a way, we can't see ourselves just the way that you kind of can't see yourself as well as, say, a partner or a friend. When ExpertVoice came, they saw us differently. And I actually love the fact that the team that was working on this with us, they didn't really know Megafood at all. It was perfect because there's value in outside-in approach. And so while there were times, and of course, if something's blatantly not correct, you need to correct that. Or if it's really off-brand, then you have to fix that. But besides that, I was an advocate on our team, because of course this is very much a team process, even with Megafood team process at ExpertVoice. I was saying, let's not muddle with this too much, because if we keep editing, changing, we're totally missing the magic of the outside in perspective. And honestly, that's what you want, because you want the retail associates or whoever you're working with, they're also outside in. And so you need that different perspective. And the ExpertVoice team has a fun energy that I actually think is very important, because they know from data, again, going back to data analytics and making data-based decision-making, which is a mantra for us, is they know how long the engagement's going to be. I mean, at first we're like, oh, well, we have so much more to say and there's so much more content and we can add so much more value. And it's like, yeah, but they're not going to stay on there that long. It's just, we can show you it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. And I think what you guys do really well is the differing kind of content. So we have this sort of video content that keeps people really engaged. And then we have some other kind of content where these actually, they toggle back and forth. And so you click on it and so it feels a little bit more interactive. Or this one, it's a unique way of getting them involved in taking a quiz rather than just saying, hey, let's go take a quiz. It's more, what are some of the common signs of iron deficiency? It's getting them in that frame of mind, keeping them thinking about this. Mm-hmm. There is really heavy stuff in here. So as a medical director, how do you want people to be learning and engaging? What have you found is the best way for them to be retaining this information?
Well, I think it's a combination. I think, well, in the case of blood builder, for example, or iron deficiency, it's kind of, that's a challenging thing to make lighthearted. I mean, iron deficiency is still the most common nutrient deficiency in the entire world. And the symptoms of iron deficiency include fatigue and some aspects that are life-changing and life-altering. So we have to find this balance of bringing credible content, but then when we can, making it more engaging. And I think the quiz was a great example, because particularly in our space, and I think probably in other ones, but natural retail associates kind of pride themselves on being knowledgeable. And so that iron deficiency sort of plays into that of, oh yeah, I probably know what they are. I'm going to do this. So, which is great because they are really knowledgeable. So it just kind of draws them in. But I have to say, each one of our lessons has been really different.
It is really different. You see there's auditory stuff. There's actually some audio from you. There's some audio from some of your experts who are on your team. Mm-hmm. There are some of these videos. There's some other pieces that, again, you can click through and you kind of swipe through and learn more about them. Do you feel like this varied amount of content and the way it's being presented is making a difference in how employees at retail are talking about Megafood?
I do. And we really have to make that difference in the modern era because I don't know if any of you know, but for example, in Whole Foods, we all know about Amazon acquisition, but I don't know if any of you know that as of July 1st, the whole body department allows no reps to come visit. And that's not Megafood specific. That's all natural supplements, all health and beauty. So all of a sudden, there's over Whole Foods has like 450 stores where our reps can't go in there anymore. And so our reps are still on the front lines. We give them so much credit and honor them always for being our voice, but they can't be everywhere at once. And the rules of the game are changing because we live in an omni-channel world. Everything's shifting. We have to be able to pivot in the midst of that shift. And this is an opportunity where, plus, one of the things that's not in my bio is my first job was in natural retail at the age of 16. When I was in naturopathic medical school, I worked in natural retail, and I worked at an integrative pharmacy for 7 years prior to joining Megafood, doing consultations. So I know what the retail world is like. I've lived it, and I think that as this is shifting, the retail expert, it becomes a primary differentiator because people would come into our integrative pharmacy because we added so much value. And so that's the question now. How do you add value? Because brick and mortar retail is never going to win on discounting. That's the worst strategy in my opinion. The best strategy is to elevate the game through having really knowledgeable staff. And we can't be everywhere at once. And there's labor cuts. So even if there is a rep in the store, they can maybe talk for less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a tough problem, and I think a lot of people are saying that too. Even people who can take their reps into a location. I worked at Nordstrom for years, and there's only so many times you can see a rep and get that kind of information. But if you're able to connect to it on a personal basis, learning through multiple different ways, whether it's visually or through an auditory, through reading, it sticks with you. And I think that's part of the reason I love Megafood content is it's stuck with me. Now, we were curious. Does it stick with the experts who are viewing this content? So we ran a survey to ask those experts who have been engaging with Megafood content. And the responses were really fun to see in how they were engaging with the content and what it meant for them. So this first question that we asked was, how familiar were you with Megafood prior to taking content? And this is important, right? We want to get a baseline for what this audience looks like. Not surprised that most of them were very familiar with Megafood prior to taking the content.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the sample size for this?
So we have about, what is it, Ben? We've got about 2,500 experts who are available to be 3,000. Mm-hmm. So that's
great.
So next we go to, which of the following describes your feelings about Megafood's content? Now, this is where I think it's really interesting. I think sometimes we assume that if they know about you already, they're not going to find it compelling or they're not going to find it engaging or interesting. And this is the trick for us here at Expert Voice, is to find a way to make this content meaningful so that it does stick with them. Overwhelmingly, the content was educational. It helped them sell more Megafood products, and it made them more likely to recommend Megafood products. Really key metrics, really important for proving out the value of what this content offers.
And can I say one thing?
Yes.
Because I'm always looking at everything with just checking it out. What I'm really interested in is that gap between 89% and helped me sell. And I think it goes back to how important the education is, but also that it has to be more that there has to be more compelling content. Because I mean,
and consistency, right? That they keep seeing more and more come through.
Exactly. So anyways, I'm very happy with the numbers. And at the same time, I'm like,
we want to see
how
that
can we make that better?
Right?
Well, how can we even, kind of fill that gap between those two?
Absolutely. So then the next one we went to is, now that they've gone through all of this content, how likely were they to recommend it to customers? And this is what's so cool. You have extremely likely and very likely. You've got 95% there who are going to be recommending this because of the content, helping them out. So I think it's fun to see the experts telling us what they think. And this next slide is really hard to read. I apologize. What I'll point out is this first one here is, these are free responses that they gave us of how they've been recommending Megafood to others. And the first one talks about how they suggest it when they know that this person wants vitamins from food, because oftentimes vitamins not made from real food can cause someone to feel sick. And so that's something that they learned about in the module that they can then take and express to somebody else. The next one talked about how they actually toured the facility. And so they were able to speak to the brand. They were able to speak to how they trust the brand. And then this last one, it again speaks to the whole food option and how the label is so easy to show. And so because they've been able to go through the labels and the content, they can speak to that. So it's really cool to see how we believe that experts are going to find this engaging. We know that there's research that when an expert is educated on something, they are more likely, but it's really cool to see it directly from these experts to see how they are then using this content to be recommending Megafood in a retail environment.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for sharing this information. It's super helpful. I can't wait to share it with my team.
Yeah. So moving forward, what has been so helpful for you in working with ExpertVoice, and what advice do you have for a brand looking to up-level their content for their experts?
So I'll answer the up-level content
first. Let's go there first.
I think that it's a team effort, and so it's having the right people on the team to analyze the content. When we first got started, we had quite a team. We've actually, as we've built trust with ExpertVoice and had success, we've narrowed that team down. But I think having the right people at the table, somebody from the education team, the marketing team, and even to have, like, there was one person on our team who really looks at things with a bit more of a critical eye, and I value her very much for that. And so it's having the right people at the table. In terms of the value add that ExpertVoice has brought, I think that it's the experience, the knowledge that they have in our space. I can share that our sales team was thrilled when we decided to join, when Ben, he convinced us and we made it happen. Our sales team actually knew all about you, which was very interesting. We mentioned it at a sales meeting and they said, oh yeah, we know about this because other brands, like Nordic Natural plays in our space and other brands. So I think you really bring, as I mentioned earlier, to not just that we're going to put this content out into the universe, but that also we're going to get data from it, and we're really going to see the engagement and then see some of this information like you just shared in terms of it translating to sales.
What are you excited for next with this relationship?
Well, I'm very excited because we have a whole pipeline of product innovation that we haven't even really had a chance to share with the whole ExpertVoice team yet. But we have a lot coming down the road here. And I'm really excited to bring that out into the world. What I'm perhaps even more excited about is our efforts that we have as a company. I was thinking a lot about the difference between political and activist this morning during Steve's talk. We've done a lot of research on our consumer, and one of the most important attributes for us, for our target consumer, is activism. And we have become much more involved in the regenerative agriculture and social impact world. We became the first supplement in the country to become certified. Our entire line is certified glyphosate residue free. So without going into it too much, that's the main active ingredient in Roundup. It's basically prolific in the environment everywhere. It's used in all conventional agriculture. It's used in parks. It's used in schools. And it's
absolutely associated with negative health effects. And we have taken an activist role, not a political role, in stepping up to the plate in being the first supplement brand to go through extensive testing of all of our supplements. And we've tried to use that as a platform for education. It's been really interesting to see how many more PR opportunities and radio opportunities we've had since that happened, because people are, again, the consumers want to know. They absolutely want the story and they want the experience. And they also our consumer in particular really wants to know. I mean, we have a whole list of certifications. So the two answers, lots of exciting new products and also our social impact efforts that I think we can tell a story and just help hopefully make an impact.
I think it absolutely will make an impact. And I think it's not just your customers who are interested in that. I think your experts are interested in that as well.
Oh, yes.
And they definitely value the mission that you have as a company and how you are so committed to that. That came through all of the content responses. Everyone is very passionate about who Megafood is as a company and how you are so committed to holding strong to those values. And I love how you call it activism in trying to improve products, not just what people are consuming, but also eliminating the products that are harmful to people and the environment.
Yeah, and we give a lot of credit to the farmers that we work with. I mean, that's where it really all starts. And so we have a great opportunity working with them to just help spread this. So, yeah.
Well, we'll keep spreading that message. It's great. Okay, what questions do we have for Erin here in a few minutes?
I think that's awesome, that 3,000 person follow-up. But I'm wondering your followers or group as a whole, your audience on Experticity, what percentage of those did you bring to them and what percent did they have existing? Is there a balance in there? Do you hand out information at Whole Foods now where they will now go to the site and open an account, or is it mostly a push on their half?
That's a great question. I'm not sure we actually have the metric for that. I can say that when we did our launch, we had our sales force en masse. Actually, Ben came to our sales meeting and gave a presentation, and we had them out there delivering cards. There were little cards where it made it super easy for the retail associate to get on the platform. And as I mentioned, it surprised me how many of our sales rep team knew about this already and were kind of chomping at the bit to go out there. So I don't have a number for you in terms of, what percentage was really brought through the ExpertVoice channel and what percentage came through. It was a mutual effort. We do have some brokers. We have about 5 brokers, but the majority of our sales team are full employees with Megafood.
Excellent question. I think it definitely has to be a partnership between the reps and the retailers, and then an existing audience that ExpertVoice obviously already has that you can take advantage of as well and get going with that. What other questions do we have? We've got one up here.
Erin, are you mostly working just with retail-based influencers or other influencers?
That's a great question. We have retail-based influencers. We also have influencers. We have kind of brand ambassadors and what we affectionately call a team of mega bloggers on our behalf. We also have, we're fortunate because we're almost 45 years old. But when I first came here, I very affectionately said, gosh, I feel like this company is the best kept secret in the industry. But in the last 7 years, a lot's changed. So we have a PR team that we work with, and there's a lot of different experts, I would say, even beyond the retail associates. Great question. Within ExpertVoice, just retail, yes. Yeah, sure.
Do you have plans to use ExpertVoice with your other influencers, and why or why not?
That's a great question. Currently, not that I'm aware of. In certain aspects of our company, I drive a lot of strategy and I do a lot of long-term vision planning. But the person that really runs this account is not here at the conference. I'm more of being the medical director, a lot of content and the creative aspects, and I review everything that happens on the site, but I don't run the account logistics. So as far as I know, we're not planning to, but we've had great success. So, who knows what could happen in the future.
Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much,
you,
Erin,
Jen.
for joining us. You are phenomenal. We're so grateful to have you here, and thank you for sharing your expertise. And we are going to, well, first let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you.